My name is Lee Felsenstein. I was an early player in the IT revolution, if we want to call the PC revolution. I helped to establish the first social media system using computers on a public access basis, and this was in 1973. I then pursued the problem of computer equipment in public service and reached the conclusion that the computer would have to collect about itself a computer club, humans. And this presented the design problems. I'm a hardware design engineer. I was working for myself. I was independent. I did design work under contract to Processor Technology Corporation, which was a friend of mine who started in the same garage that we rented, and which went out of business 4 years later. I am known perhaps best for having designed the Osborne 1 portable computer for the Osborne Computer Corporation, another company that lasted about 3 years. Most of my career has been running my own consulting design company, although I did spend 8 years working for Paul Allen's research company, the Interval Research Corporation, from 1992 to 2000. I have 2 computers here on display and a picture of others. Sol 20 computer and the Osborne 1. I like to say that looking at the Osborne 1, I get tired just thinking of it, thinking of all the work I did on it. I think my heart belongs to the Sol, because like a firstborn child, it was the first, and it established some of my design ideas that I made use of later. But when you're able to get it out first, that's one that you always consider the most important. I believe that the Osborne 1 computer was the last computer completely designed by one person. There are boards inside on the disk drives that were designed by Pat McGuire, who worked with me. We could say maybe that's a 2-person team, but his work was sufficiently separate and derivative that I'll still claim credit as the designer. That was a project that took from approximately July 1980 to January of 1981 before we could show the first units. And the work wasn't really done then. It was intense work and done on pencil and paper using the old blueprint technology for reproduction. So, like many of my projects, it immersed me completely. I was in pursuit of a vision. So in a way, yes, but I don't think I made the vision that large, that broad. So I knew in my work on social media that we needed to make some important changes in the access terminal and then the computer technology so that it could be supported by ordinary people, or people who are much closer to ordinary than the people who worked for the big computer companies. I did not necessarily make the assumption that it would be so successful in that regard, so that people like my nephew would have been playing with the computer apparently from before the time he could speak. So in that sense, no, I didn't think that far ahead. But I did know that this would never happen the way I wanted it to if it were left up to professional companies and industry. We had to extend out into the general public a lot more with the skills and make those skills easier to use. And that was the design challenge. So I don't think anybody could foresee how far it would go, but it was a revolution. And I've lived through a different revolution as well. And I've concluded that revolutions are mass events they overthrow an existing order, and most importantly, they have consequences far beyond what is foreseen. So this was not an exception to that rule. I came to Berkeley in 1963 as an engineering student. In 1964, Berkeley erupted with its own revolution against the administrative control of political and other speech and social action. This was called the free speech movement, and it was actually victorious. I saw immediately after that victory how everyone's horizons suddenly widened. People began doing things they never would have done. I took a political science course. I was still an engineering student. Other people started magazines. Really, it was the beginning of the counterculture in the San Francisco area. I have reason to believe, but no facts, to say that perhaps 5,000 students dropped out of the university and went over to San Francisco to establish what became the Haight-Ashbury. In that environment, you want it to continue forever. And I was looking for what I could do to make this kind of revolution the ordinary way of life. I investigated media because it was clear that the information environment on campus had changed as a result of this. And certainly during the crisis, it became legitimate for anyone to talk with anyone else, whereas the campus was notorious for being an immense collection of strangers. Well, my explorations led me through print media and into electronic media, and I spent perhaps 5 years exploring this in the counterculture as it developed, trying to understand the information needs that would have to be met for a new community to survive. So that by 1970, I had the realization that a network of computers would be the technology. I had, by that time, gone to work. I had been introduced to computers and shown how network computers would operate. But I hadn't any idea where I would get a computer. I was working with a computer, but there was only one there, and it had its function. But within a year, I was introduced to people who had secured the donation of a large time-sharing computer, the kind that filled a room, and it was intended for counterculture use. This was in San Francisco, so immediately after I finished my studies, and I had also worked for 4 years, I went to them, joined up, and that was where we established the first social media system called Community Memory. So all along, it's been a continuous path of pursuing the technology of, shall we say, revolution. I had to do a lot of work before being asked for it. That's a realization I had back at the beginning, when I came to understand that the people who knew more than I did about politics and sociology had absolutely no clue of how technologies developed. And once they asked me for something, do it now. I can't, it takes time. Never mind, do it now. Couldn't do that. I decided at that instant that I would have to go forward and as time went forward and put things together and build tools and have them available so that the next time I would say, well, you can't have that, but here's what you can have. It was up to me to have that shelf full of stuff. And that really is what I have been doing since. These are going to be extremely important and productive years. There's going to be an expansion of the technological culture much more into the general culture, because now we no longer need to work for a big company in order to get the resources necessary to build new things. We've learned how to assist each other with open designs, software and hardware. This is all developing now. And I see that the crisis of sustainability is growing in general consciousness, requires the same approach I took. Don't wait to be asked. Go out, get together with others, which I didn't do, and create the things that will need to be created. One can talk about politics as the art of the possible. But the question then becomes, who determines what is possible? And if it's technological events, well, the technologists do. We have to, again, stop waiting for orders and determine how to do it ourselves. And I think this is going to be very highly motivated by our understanding of the global sustainability crisis. And I think there will be a great deal of enthusiasm. I hope to be able to leave behind when I go some designs and so forth that will help at least to train young people into the skills with the technology needed. Maybe I can even do more. This exhibit is a very well done exhibit of important early devices, products, and about information about the people who did them. I can see that it fits into a nice compact space. Everything here has a story behind it. And watching people look at things, I felt the urge to jump in and explain what I could about my stuff at least, and anything else I knew about here. That, I think, will be the hard work that is yet to come. Maybe it's been done and we don't see it here. But the problem of presentation is something I can see there's much left to be done. Yes, it's nice to see the things, but then people have to understand what are they looking at? And what does it mean? Why is it important? So I want to congratulate Cecilia and everyone here who has put this together, and say that it's a good start. And we must go forward from there.